Right, Crook, it's time, obviously, we've got to talk about your mob.
Really? They've not played this weekend. We can move on.
Yeah, come on. Let's talk about
Let's talk about Manchester United. It looks like Ralf Rangnick has been named the Austria manager.
Good luck to Austria.
I don't quite get what's going on there.
Is that the most pointless man ever to go and walk into Manchester United?
Do you know what I don't get about it, Crookie? Because the rebuild at Manchester United is huge, right?
Yeah.
So surely if he's got a consultancy role at Old Trafford, that's surely a day-to-day thing where he's got to be there all the time, assessing players, watching games, who he thinks they should bring in. The fact that he's going to be kind of sidetracked to go and manage Austria, do you get it?
So is he managing Austria and having the role at Manchester United?
He claims he is.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I don't see how you can kind of lay all your focus on trying to recruit players.
It makes the appointment even
ridiculous.
more mental.
You're talking about
even more ridiculous.
You're talking about the biggest club in the world, and you need somebody who's going to be there. I'm guessing this is not a thing you can just kind of 50-50. You have to give it your all, bring the right players with the right attitude, the right temperament to fit what obviously Ten Hag wants. The fact that he's now going to be kind of distracted with the Austria job, can you understand it?
I think he knows that he's not going to have any day-to-day involvement in Manchester United. I think effectively they'll either pay him to do very little or they'll pay him.
They have to
go
they've given him that two-year deal.
Yeah, and he held them to ransom a bit there because, as I understand it, he wasn't going to take the job without some kind of long-term guarantee. So I guess credit to his negotiating skills. But it's all rather embarrassing for Manchester United that you could have an interim manager who decides that he wants to go off and manage Austria, but don't worry, I'll still have some kind of involvement at Old Trafford. It's taken the mickey, to be honest, but good luck to Austria because he's been a disaster. Okay, he's given some fantastic sound bites in press conferences. He's drawn attention to some of the problems that we all knew about at Manchester United. But it's easy to sit there and say what the problems are when you know you're not going to be manager beyond the end of the season. He's done very little to solve those problems. The performances, apart from half an hour in the very first game against Crystal Palace, when you thought, actually, this guy might have something, the performances have been dreadful. They got knocked out the Champions League by Atletico. They've surrendered any chance they had of competing in the top four. He's mismanaged certain players. He's brought some players like Juan Mata back from extinction almost. And, he's playing players like Paul Pogba, we all know doesn't have a future at the club. He's only not playing now because he's injured. It's been really poor from Ralf Rangnick, and I think it just shows that he was promoted to a position that his CV didn't really justify. If you look at the teams he's managed, it's not that impressive. If you look at what he's actually won, I think you two have probably got more trophies than Ralf Rangnick, which doesn't say much. So, good riddance, to be honest. I don't think he's got any long-term future at Manchester United. Let's leave it to Erik Ten Hag. The fans are behind him. I think he's the type of manager they need at this moment in time. What they don't need is a glorified administrator just meddling in their business. So I think Manchester United are probably quite relieved, despite the fact it's a bit embarrassing that Austria have come calling.
Do you know what's mad? Sorry, Daz. When you look at his record, it's Premier League only. So he's had 21 matches in charge. He's only won 9. He's drawn 7, but he's lost 5.
Yeah,
I mean, he scored 30 goals and conceded 28 goals.
He's not been the manager that everyone said he was, in my opinion. This genius that has taught all the current fantastic bosses in the Premier League. Do you think Ten Hag has anything to do with this, Crookie? Do you think he has said, look, I don't need Ralf Rangnick on the side? And do you not think they should cut ties altogether? Potentially it will cost a little bit of money to relieve him of his duties altogether and just stop this embarrassment altogether?
I think they will cut ties with him, but I don't think they'll do it in the form of a statement. They'll probably do it very quietly and just pay him to go away and say, thanks for not much, really. Apart from hammering the structure of the club at every press conference. And I know some fans like that, and I guess I admire his honesty. But as I said, it's very easy to be honest and open when you know that you won't be manager beyond the end of the season. And let's make no mistake about this, because he said it on record. When he got the interim job, it wasn't really the consultancy that he had his eye on. He wanted to be the next Manchester United manager.
Of course he did. And that's I felt that's why he took the job, because he felt if he could come in with his expertise or so-called expertise and get the club to where they need to be, even a top 4 shout, he may have been given the job. And I think that was his ultimate goal. Looking at where you are now, and obviously the record that Benty just showed us there and told us, do you not think it would have not been better off, but would they have been any worse off keeping Ollie until at least the summer?
I think that position was untenable. I was at Watford for talkSPORT when the fans really turned on him. United were dreadful that day. I think he had to go. I think probably they should have left Michael Carrick in charge for the rest of the season. I went to the Arsenal game that he managed. I think he took 7 points out of 9.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the correct thing to do. It never made any sense to bring an interim manager, because you guys have been in dressing rooms. If you know the manager is only there until the end of the season, I think you had this situation with Les Reed, did you, at Charlton, possibly?
No, this is what I had. At Charlton, we had Alan Kirbishley, and I've said it and I'll stand by the statement. That club has not been the same since he left. Alan Kirbishley left. We then had Ian Dowie, who I liked as a coach. I thought he was good.
Yep.
He got the chop. Les Reed came in for 7 games, didn't work. And then Alan Pardew came in. I think he came in for 7 games. I think we lost 7 games.
Yeah, and it was an interim role. They were looking for a manager, and it was as you had respect for Les Reed. Look, the players will have respect for Ralf Rangnick, but if you know he's not going to be the manager, it's a different kind of respect. It's not a respect that pick me, because I want you to think I'm a good player. It's just a respect that this guy's in football. And it was the same with Les Reed as the manager. We knew he wasn't going to be the manager, so it was like, well, let's try and impress whoever's coming in at the time, and it just doesn't work for me. And to have a huge football club take an interim manager, it was like they gave up on the top 4 as soon as they appointed him.
Cookie, listen, we know you're a Manchester United fan. Can you still get your head around the fact that they didn't want Antonio Conte?
No, not at all. From what I'm told, they thought he would be too combustible, too demanding. That's exactly what a club like Manchester United need. If you want to get back to being one of the top clubs, not just in this country but in Europe as well, you want a manager who sets high standards. Why would you turn your nose up at Antonio Conte? Darren Lewis, I remember we recorded the Game Day podcast at the time, and he said it shouldn't be whether Manchester United choose Antonio Conte. It should be whether Antonio Conte wants to join Manchester United. Ridiculous decision. If Tottenham do get in the top 4, and I've already said I think Arsenal are favourites, it will only be because they appointed Antonio Conte. And if Manchester United had appointed Antonio Conte rather than gone down this ridiculous route with Ralf Rangnick, I think they would have qualified for the top 4, because there are some good players in that dressing room. But it's just an absolute shambles.
Wow, he's actually called it shambles. Do you think it's been a shambles, Daz?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think I agree with you. If Antonio Conte would have gone to Manchester United, they'd have been at least closer, if not in the top 4 race, because he's an elite manager. Ralf Rangnick's not proved that he's an elite manager.
He did win the Intertoto Cup back in 2000.
He's out of order, isn't he?